Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into Robert Kiyosaki's totally transformative approach to money and wealth. We're going to break down the fundamental rules of wealth building, the exact rules the rich teach their kids, which, let's be honest, the poor and middle class usually completely ignore. So if you've ever felt like you're grinding away, working incredibly hard, but just never quite getting ahead, well, you are absolutely in the right place.
Let's dive right into this stark contrast right off the bat. It's the traditional advice we all get versus the completely different playbook the wealthy use. On the left, you've got the standard path. Get good grades, find a secure job, and play it safe. But over on the right, the rich dad's approach flips that entire concept on its head. Instead of just hiding from risk, he says we actually need to learn how to manage that risk and understand how money truly works.
Okay, let's hit section 1, the tale of two mindsets.
So Robert Kiyosaki grew up with two father figures who viewed the world in fundamentally different ways. His biological father, a really highly educated guy, constantly struggled with finances and kind of viewed the pursuit of wealth with a lot of suspicion. But his rich dad, a high school dropout who ended up immensely wealthy, saw money as a tool to master. He recognized that not having enough money causes way more stress and hardship than having it. It's just a profound shift in perspective. And a huge part of that perspective comes down to the words we use. Language literally shapes our reality. Saying, "I can't afford it," is honestly just mental laziness. It's a definitive statement that completely shuts down your brain's problem-solving functions. But asking a question, like, "How can I afford it?" forces your brain to get to work. It builds up that financial muscle and trains you to see opportunities where everyone else just sees roadblocks.
Moving right along to section 2, the financial education gap.
Now, you might be wondering, why do highly educated people, we're talking doctors, accountants, government officials with advanced degrees, why do they so often end up living paycheck to paycheck? Well, it's because our schools are designed to train us for scholastic and professional skills, completely leaving financial education up to our parents. We go to school to learn how to work for money. We become these brilliant employees, making other people incredibly wealthy, but we graduate with basically zero understanding of how to make money work for us.
Which brings us to section 3, assets versus liabilities.
Look, if you take away just one single thing from this entire explainer, it absolutely needs to be this rule right here. You kind of have to unlearn what you thought you knew, but keeping things super simple is exactly how the rich build their wealth. Forget all the complex accounting jargon. In the real world, an asset is just something that puts money in your pocket, whether you're working or not. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That is literally it. The rich buy assets. The poor and middle class buy liabilities that they mistakenly think are assets. And this becomes incredibly obvious when you map it out visually. When you acquire an asset, like a rental property or a solid dividend-paying stock, it lives there on your balance sheet, generating income that flows directly upward, literally feeding your income column.
On the flip side, a liability just drains money right out of your expense column. Think of buying a brand new car. The literal second you drive it off the dealership lot, it drops something like 25% in value. But more importantly, it constantly demands insurance, gas, maintenance, and loan payments. It acts like a vacuum, constantly siphoning cash right out of your pocket.
Now brace yourself, because this next concept challenges some deeply held beliefs. Even your dream home is technically a liability. Think about it. Your house requires a mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and endless maintenance. It takes money out of your pocket every single month. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy a house, but you absolutely must realize it is an expense, not an income-generating asset.
And that leads right to the ultimate aha moment. The middle class struggles because their income simply equals their expenses. Every time they get a raise at work, what do? They buy a bigger house or a nicer car, which just increases their liabilities and expenses. But look at the rich dad's strategy. His asset column is massive, and he continuously reinvests the money those assets make to buy even more assets. Their money works tirelessly for them.
Let's get into section 4, minding your own business.
Most people spend their entire lives minding someone else's business, working hard to make them rich. Remember, your profession is what pays your bills, but your business is your asset column. Now, you don't have to quit your day job tomorrow, but you must systematically start acquiring real assets, like businesses that run without you, stocks, real estate, or intellectual property royalties. Real assets act like tireless 24/7 employees. Once a dollar goes into your asset column, it never clocks out. It just goes to work making you more dollars.
If we look at the cash flow quadrant,
The poor dad's path teaches you to seek safety by working for ordinary earned income on the left side, as an employee or someone who is self-employed. But here's the catch. Earned income is the most heavily taxed income there is. You are trading your precious time for money, and the government takes the absolute biggest slice of the pie.
The rich dad's path, however, teaches you to convert that earned income into passive or portfolio income by moving over to the right side of the quadrant. Over here, as a business owner or an investor, you aren't actually working for the money anymore. The system, or the money itself, is doing the heavy lifting for you. And as a huge bonus, this side of the quadrant enjoys the most favorable tax treatment by far.
All right, our final section, Section 5, Raising Financially Smart Kids. So how do we break this cycle and pass this empowering mindset down to the next generation? Well, schools sure aren't going to do it, which means the responsibility falls squarely on us. Parents have to be proactive. While the poor dad forbade talking about money at the dinner table, the rich dad encouraged it. We need to have those real-world dinner table conversations. We need to teach kids the visual difference between an asset and a liability early on, and let them take small, managed financial risks so they learn to actually manage risk rather than just fearing it.
I absolutely love this example. There was a father whose 16-year-old was constantly pestering him for a new car. Instead of just giving in and buying the car or telling the kid to drain his savings, the dad gave his teenager $3,000 and issued a challenge. Invest it. The goal was to generate enough cash flow from those investments to pay for the car himself. If he lost the money, well, he learned a valuable lesson early in life. But if he succeeded, he learned a practical financial skill that would literally serve him for the rest of his life. And that right there is the ultimate old money secret you can teach your children. Build the asset column first, and then use the income generated from those assets to buy your luxuries. See, the middle class buys luxuries on credit, essentially enslaving themselves to debt just to look rich. But the truly wealthy, they buy assets first and let the cash flow from those assets buy the Porsches and the big houses.
Ultimately, money is just an idea. Every single time you get paid, you hold your entire financial destiny right in your hands. You can choose to buy liabilities and struggle, or you can acquire assets and literally buy your freedom. The choice is 100% yours. So the million-dollar question is, what are you going to choose to do with every single dollar of your next paycheck?